Today's talk is dynamic harmlessness for today's world. And my father used to tell me that you can only do what you can do, but you can do it every day. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, what you can do today. Ahimsa is something that most people in this room know the definition, so I won't go too much into that. But you probably don't realize that was the name of his magazine for 40 years. So it was something that he felt very deeply inspired by. Dynamic harmlessness is how he really defined ahimsa, because to him, non-harming was not enough. He had to go out in the world and do the good things and make the world a better place. So he defined dynamic harmlessness as to do the least amount of harm and the most good. And in that way, you'll bring about happiness, not just to others, but to yourself, because you're the one creating those actions. But how do you know what to do? He was 23. His brother was only 20. They were having a family argument with their father, who was a lacto-vegetarian. They wanted to know if their dairy usage was really in line with their ahimsa. So they went to a slaughterhouse in Philadelphia. My father was H.J. Dinshaw. Let me read to you what he wrote from her book, Powerful Vegan Messages. Jay said, "Upon emerging from that windowless house of horrors, I disposed of my blood-saturated shoes. I threw every stitch of clothing into the wash. I bathed profusely in an effort to remove the clinging fragrance of that charnel house. Even so, it seemed I could not rid my nostrils of that awful stench for weeks thereafter. Decades have passed since that melancholy day, but the repugnance of those sights and smells is still well etched in memory. While clothes and skin can be washed clean in time, what soaps can we use to cleanse the conscience? Which super-fortified detergent shall we use to scrub the soul pure and clean?" Jay made a vow that day. He said, "I will work every day until all the slaughterhouses are closed." I had the opportunity to visit that very same slaughterhouse in Philadelphia. As I was looking for the actual building, I asked a man who was standing nearby if he knew anything about that brick building on the corner, if he knew anything of an old slaughterhouse. He said he knew nothing of what happened in that building. I was surprised, but not really, because the slaughterhouse itself had relocated to the Midwest. So it wasn't really closed. It was just moved. And we're still supporting it with our dollars every day. I dream that someday when I ask a man about a slaughterhouse, that's not his response. I want the response to be, well, what is a slaughterhouse? And I still believe someday that will happen. We all do what we know until something challenges our beliefs. Often we do what our parents teach us. My father, he formed the American Vegan Society in 1960, 3 years after touring that slaughterhouse, because that's what he believed that he could do to do the most good and the least harm, to help other people understand what vegan is. And back then, there were so few people who had even heard the word. I came along in 1969, and in 1975, he helped found the North American Vegetarian Society. My job as a kid was to travel with him to lectures, similar to coming to a lecture here. My job was to scribble on index cards all of his thoughts, all of his hopes, and what he planned to share. An index card similar to this. He put it in his pocket. He had it there, just in case he ever needed it. But he never took it out of his pocket. And that's sort of how I treated the wisdom he shared with me for all these years. But now it's truly time to take these index cards out and share them with all of you. When I was co-authoring with my late father our latest book, Powerful Vegan Messages, I really got the chance to meet a lot of my dad's friends. And one person who really had a great memory was Tom Regan. He's a great animal rights activist. He said that Jay Dinshaw needed a canvas, a very large canvas, to paint for everybody the world as he saw it could be. At the conference, the World Vegetarian Conference in 1975, he did the funeral for famine. He hired a hearse, flowers, had lots of speakers, invited thousands of people to a stadium to look at what could happen if the world became vegan. He knew it was good for the animals. He had to get us to see how it could be good for the planet and the people. He gave us so much to think about. Today is the first of 10 lectures I'm giving in the next 24 days. Yesterday, very early in the morning in Philadelphia, my kid was giving me a hug goodbye and he wouldn't let go. And I had to tell him that the animals need me more than he does right now. I told him that I need to go and speak for the animals and help people understand that we can have a better world, just as my dad believed, as he was doing for the next generation, I need to do for my kid. And although he was a little bit sad, my kid gets it, because we go to animal sanctuaries. He gets to hug cows and pigs, and he makes the connection at 3 years old. I've asked him, why are we vegan? He says, because the animals don't want us to eat them. They want to do fun things. If we eat them, they'll be dead, and then they cannot do fun things. It's so simple sometimes. I also take him to Vegfest. I took him to one recently, and he enjoyed it. And I don't really know whether he gets more out of it, or I get more out of it, or the people that we talk to get more out of it. But we enjoy going to them and sharing with people. One person came up to me and she said, I'm moving to the country. I'll be your neighbor. I'm in the next town over. I'm going to start a humane egg farm. I said, that's wonderful. Tell me about it. Which gives the eggs, the male or the female? I said, I've never had an egg farm. She said, well, the females do, of course. I said, oh, so what happens to the male chicks? She didn't know. So I asked her if she wanted to know. She said, well, yes, tell me. And I did. And now she's vegan. It's very similar with the cows. There isn't really anything such as humane milk. Who makes the milk? And what happens to the male calves? And what sort of life do the females have? Then at what age do they go to slaughter? My father witnessed that. It inspired him. If you've ever wished to have a friend, a mentor, or a resource, let me share with you my father. He was an average American. He was of Indian descent, elected vegetarian before he toured the Slaughterhouse. If you were sitting in this room today, you would not notice him. But I believe he's still here. His powerful vegan messages lie inside of each of us. You can awaken them to do more through dynamic harmlessness, truly helping people understand the ahimsa message. Share compassion in gentle, welcoming ways. And when the going gets tough, think of the animals. Think of the people who are in darkness. Think of the animals who live in fear. Remember that ahimsa lights the way. Dynamic harmlessness, again, means to do the least harm and the most good. Helping others is the best way for us to find that happiness that everybody seeks. My dad told me stories to help me remember, so I'll share one more here. Everybody's heard of the Titanic, the great ocean liner. But how many people really know about the Carpathia? And how the captain turned off all the hot water for his passengers so he could divert all the energy to get in his ship to the Titanic wreckage in only 4 hours to save 705 people. So next time that your shower is just a hint cold and you're uncomfortable, please think about the world. It may be a ship that's sinking. Are we fixing that leak? Or are we just rearranging the deck chairs? Think of the blood of the dairy cows that get slaughtered every day. It's blood that's on everyone's hands if we do anything less than everything we can, like Jay's conscience. Treat all creatures in the world as one would like to be treated. November 1st is today, World Vegan Day. We learn about eating the bounty of plants and not using animal products. Tomorrow will be November 2nd. Please celebrate Dynamic Harmlessness Day. Thank you. I could do questions now, or we can do questions later. I'll also be out at a table. Yes?
What will happen to the animals when this, completely, they are not utilized for proper food and things like that?
The animals that you're referring to are created.
Now they are, where they are.
Oh, his question is, what will happen to the animals if we all become vegan? And the animals that are in the food system are not naturally created. So if we quit doing things to them to create those animals, that they call it artificial insemination, but there's a 4-letter word for what it really is. And if the humans stop doing that, then there won't be a lot of those animals around. And so I don't think that's a thing that we have to deal with right away. It's going to be a gradual education process.
Will they go into the forest and live?
I would hope that we could return a lot of the land that's currently used for animal agriculture to reforesting and having some wild spaces for the animals to be able to do fun things.